Why do people love unfair, brutal games so much? Are we all deep down slightly masochistic and love the pain of dying again and again? Games like Dark Souls and Super Meat Boy get tons of praise for being absolute arseholes to the players. So why is that? Well, I think for a couple of reasons. The first and most obvious being the challenge, the mountain to climb, the raging sea to overcome, the hard as fuck boss battle to scrape your way through. Challenge is key in a game. The satisfaction of coming through the other side in one piece, or just about. The second is perhaps because of the time we're in, where gamers feel most games nowadays hold their hands and guide the way and wipe their asses, etc, etc. Hold L to move. Oh, thank you. I was stood here for literally seconds before I figured out you don't move with the fucking start button. Maybe we're insulted by how much these games hold our hands, so much so that when a game like Dark Souls comes out, we gravitate towards its ruthless difficulty first and foremost, as opposed to gravitating towards some of its other qualities. Back in the days of bits, hard as polar bear shit games were the norm. The Immortal, an adventure game akin to a fighting fantasy novel for the Apple II GS, is one of those games. Well, actually I'm playing on the Megadrive version, which is one of the many ports of the game. Anyway, let's jump right in. Alright, so the game begins and you spawned in a room next to a table. A cloud of smoke erupts from the table's candle and morphs into an old man's face.
Dunrick, I fucked up and I could use a hand,
is the message the smoky apparition transmits. But wait, the game tells you that your name isn't Dunrick. Dun! You leave the table and... oh, wait. It might be a good idea to move. Who's say... oh, Mary, Mother of God! A beginner's trap, of course. There just had to be one, and in the beginning pissing room too. I guess it was the game designer's way of telling the player that there's traps everywhere. Teaching through gameplay, right? It makes sense. Well, fuck you! Couldn't Smokey Joe over here have one line of exposition and say something like, yeah lad, watch your step, there's traps all over the shop? Because then the more mentally capable players will take that advice and be much more tentative and cautious. Come on game, meet me halfway. I don't want my hand held, but I also don't want my hand bitten off by a giant worm. Well, to be more accurate, be completely devoured and mauled by a giant worm. Seriously, as if it wasn't bad enough that he's about to eat you, he slams your body into the ground first, pulverising your fucking bones. Shit's fucked up, man, there's no need for that. Anyway, once you learn your lesson and sidestep that cock-end worm, you can exit through the door and begin your adventure to save... wait, what's his name? Mortimer? Yeah, him. Go save Mortimer. Onwards! As soon as you enter the next room, you'll notice two things, a corpse and the Green Goblin. I assume that if I'm touched by this guy, I'll engage in single-man combat, so I'll just check out the corpse first. Oh, he has a ring with Dunrick on it. Flashback.
Dunrick, I fucked up.
I could use that. Oh, I'm not doing this. Whoa, this is Dunrick. This dead as fuck in the first fucking room guy is the man, what's his name, Mordecai's I thought could save him. You barely out the fucking door and you bit the big one, mate. Come on, that's just bad. Oh, well, I guess I'll just take his personal belongings and be on my way. Well, time to fight this orc-looking motherfucker. Come at me! Well, I have no idea what just happened there. Seriously, I spent ages doing these combat sequences just rubbing my thumbs across the D-pad and buttons like I was getting crisp flavouring dust off my fingers. Sometimes I got a gruesome but totally amazing kill animation, and sometimes I did a death. Every now and then I noticed I could lean, but the D-pad didn't do naff all on its own. I finally discovered that you have to hold down C and then move the D-pad in the desired direction to lean. It's not even that cryptic, quite honestly, but because you're immediately thrown into combat and have a mace rammed into your cranium, you kind of panic and can't really figure out what you're supposed to do. It's like not figuring out how to inhale your life preserver when you're drowning. It's fairly straightforward, sure, but you're busy shitting your pants over drowning. Attacking is something I'm not really sure how to do effectively. I think it has something to do with this part of the UI, like maybe a fatigue mechanic or something, I don't fucking know. Right, so after popping this guy's head like a teenager's back spot, you come across a man having a bit of the old rough and tumble with another green bloke. As soon as you get within 10 fucking feet of the orcish bugger, he immediately forgets about that guy and chases you the fuck down. Now, since your first encounter with this kind consisted of you going, and hitting random buttons, you probably lost most of your health, so this fight is quite deadly unless you know what you're doing. I do not know what I'm doing, so I got my asshole turned inside out. Unlike Dunrick, however, I get to respawn, but only 3 times and then the game is over and you have to start from the beginning. Thank God I'm barely out of the first room then, I suppose. I can't imagine the amount of broken controls from people dying near the end of the game. I'd go fucking mental. Anyway, if you manage to beat the orcish fiend, you can go talk to the guy who he was last fighting. He explains that, what's his name, Mamma Mia, is being held captive below and that the entrance to the lower levels is hidden. He then hands you a key and fucks off. Well, I thank you for the key, but why aren't you helping me? You're clearly a decent fighter if you held off one of those mentalists, so why are you just running away? And I mean running. As soon as he hands you the key and says, I must go now, he's gone. disappeared. It's as if he was already out the door before throwing you a key and saying, "You're on your own, buddy. Cheers, you dick." Leave this room and there's another orc bloke chilling out above you. If you get too close, he yells at you and forbids you to come any closer. Oh jeez, you don't have to tell me twice, I'm fucking gone, mate. I guess I'll go through this door first then. Okay, this is just grade A bollocks. The first trap, alright, it's a beginner's trap. But at least you can see the block you shouldn't be standing on. But this is like instantaneous death. I'd barely closed the door before an arrow was giving me a prostate exam. You can make it through the first part without dissolving into a wizardy paste, but I think I was just extremely lucky. Look at the amount of damage the arrow does. Spaces in the floor begin to move up and down, implying that there are pressure plates that you're not supposed to be standing on. Alright, I'm through. Just avoid this suspicious looking dare and I'll... Why? And there's more than one pitfall in this room. Look at the size of it. There does seem to be a way to escape falling completely down these things, but I can't figure it out. If you hold a button down, your character pulls his legs up, but that buys you a couple of extra seconds at best. This certainly is like a fighting fantasy book. It just pummels your adventurous little ass into the ground. Next room and it appears all the torches are out, leaving you in complete darkness. Oh god, this won't end well. Alright, so I guess it's made the enemies invisible. I'm fucked. I'm so fucked. I am really so fucked. Oh, I won. And now the room is lit. Okay. So now what? I made my way back to this room with this like weird looking light thing, which can't just be for decoration. Let's see if any of my items work with this. I'll try this bait first, I guess. Oh, for fuck's sake. I actually figured out that you're supposed to use an amulet you find in the dark room here to direct the light into the ground to open up an exit. It's actually pretty fun figuring out this stuff. In the second level, you're attacked by green wisps, which niggle away your health. There's a charm on the first level that you can find to make them friendly and even attack other enemies for you. Wow, I'm really starting to like this game. The overall atmosphere and feeling you get when playing is great, and once you learn from your mistakes from the first level, if you have the patience to keep trying, then it really is quite fun, as long as you keep your wits about you and watch your step. This game reeks of being ported, by the way. The layout, the inventory, the graphics, everything just feels like a port. This isn't really a complaint though, just something I thought was worth mentioning. The sprites just have that typical downgraded, compromised look to them. Saying that though, the game still looks fairly good, if a little drab and uninspired. Just a bunch of grey bricks. The music for the most part is not good. I wouldn't go as far as to call it terrible or even bad, but it's certainly not good. The opening theme is kind of cool I suppose, but it uses all the crappy Megadrive sounds, so it diminishes the quality of it. The in-game music when you're in the isometric view is atmospheric, which I suppose serves the purpose it's supposed to, but it cuts out and loops seemingly on random or whenever you enter a new room. So to sum up the visuals and audio, nothing is truly outstanding, but nothing takes away from the experience too much. Well then, there you go. A brutal, unforgiving, sadistic and cruel game that is unrelenting with unfair bullshit indeed. But I can't actually put the game down and say, never again. I guess that helps the argument that we as gamers just can't help but like extremely difficult games, as long as they're designed well. There are some shaky, downright unfair parts in the Immortal, but once you learn and use caution, it's a great old time. I think I may have found a new favourite adventure game, and it doesn't even like me back. At least you like me, right? Hello?